Imagine living your life after 50 and feeling energized and excited about your future. Welcome to the Women in the Middle podcast, the podcast for women who are ready to figure out what they want and create the life they deserve. Here's your host and master certified life coach, Susie Rosenstein.
Hey there, today we're talking about peeing your pants and all things pelvic floor in midlife. Let's go. Welcome back to the podcast Women in the Middle. I'm your host, Susie Rosenstein, your master certified coach and midlife mentor, and I am so glad to be here with you again. Now, as you probably know, my mission is to help you stop living like time doesn't matter in midlife, because it does. We cannot continue living in an autopilot fog. Life is just too short for this. You know, I like to call these shenanigans. It's just too short. Being more intentional is where it's at. So today's topic is something that can sometimes end up being a little bit like part of your life on autopilot. And I know that might sound a little weird, but dealing with occasionally peeing your pants just because you couldn't get to the bathroom on time, or you just have to pee a lot, and all kinds of other issues related to your pelvic floor and aging can turn into something you just deal with and maybe even make accommodations for. I think you'll get a lot from hearing a very open and candid conversation about all things pelvic floor health and prolapse and the holistic care of these issues for women just like us. But just quick, as a listener of the Women in the Middle podcast, I wanted to make sure that you knew about how we can work together to help you find clarity, confidence, and joy in midlife without wasting any more time feeling stuck. In the end, it's all about regret-proofing your life, my friend, and it's the fastest way I know to rediscover joy and purpose after 50. That is for sure. I have a variety of options available, both private and group coaching. The best thing to do if you're curious about what it would be like to coach together and actually put yourself first for a change is to please reach out and see what might be a good fit for you. Head over to www.talktosusie.com. Okay, now let's dive in. My guest today is Christina Walsh. You're going to love this conversation about all things pelvic floor health and prolapse and the holistic care of these issues for women. I know it sounds weird to think you're going to love the conversation, but you will really get so much out of it. Christina is a New Orleans mama of two living with pelvic floor issues. She understands the power of transforming pain into purpose. Physical therapist, published researcher, and co-founder of Tighten Your Tinkler, Christina helps women with pelvic floor issues and prolapse to find healing without Kegels or invasive devices. Christina draws from her own vulnerable story and decades of professional experience to deliver actionable advice mixed with a message of hope. When she's not supporting the Tinkler community online, Christina loves experiencing all the local culture of New Orleans with her family, avoiding makeup unless it's Mardi Gras, and laughing with friends. So, can you relate to what we're talking about today? Maybe you should go to the washroom before we get started so you don't miss any of the good stuff. Please enjoy. And one note, please remember the information shared in this podcast is intended for your convenience, entertainment, and education, and isn't geared to your personal situation. It's not a replacement for care or advice from your own medical professional. So as always, you may have some things you want to follow up on, so please seek a suitable professional to advise you on your personal situation. Hi, Christina. Thanks so much for joining us today on the Women in the Middle podcast.
Susie, thank you so much for having me. I adore your show and all the ways you lead women in this precarious stage of life.
Oh my gosh, precarious. That's the perfect word to describe. I'm always saying, midlife, it's not for the faint of heart, but precarious, that's really, really good. Oh, and you get to see Nico. Nico's in the back there.
Hi, puppy.
Settling in for our episode together. That's sweet. I hope he just goes to sleep. Okay, so I was, of course, very excited to have you on. I mean, all of us seem to be peeing our pants these days, and you, Christina, are going to help us understand what the heck is going on and what we can do about it. So if you could just start off by telling us a little bit about why it's the perfect time to tackle pelvic floor issues. And of course, until recently, I didn't even know it was a pelvic floor issue. I just thought, I'm peeing my pants. Please help. Somebody please help me. Take it away.
I think you just said the most perfect thing right there is that one of the things my partner Jen and I are most passionate about is just educating, connecting the dots for women, because it's one of those things that it often blindsides you. And Jen and I both came to this work through personal experience after childbirth, personal issues that we've dealt with, and a vast array of severity from vastly different birth experiences. But then became united in this cause to help women with this because it was so personal. We were trying to help ourselves first, let's be honest. Right?
Of course.
But then, we found our calling that way. And it's really become such a blessing because living with these issues, very often we thought we were going to be serving women kind of immediately after childbirth when we first started this work, because that's kind of when it all kind of crashed down for us pretty soon after having children. However, what we have learned through working with hundreds of women in this space is that for many women, it actually just was an annoying whisper, these pelvic floor issues, until midlife. And that is when those hormone changes start to happen. And very often in this stage, it becomes a scream you can no longer ignore.
And the scream is because why?
The scream is because we have that estrogen, the hormone shifts, right? So the estrogen by our 50s, estrogen is dropped by about 50%. And along with that comes the collagen drop. And the pelvic floor is just a sling of muscles that hold our guts in from below.
Oh, I love how you're saying back and forth after you're talking about the muscles.
I'm picturing it. If you have a video, I have my little pelvis model right here. We love to teach with the model, but I know this is audio. So yes, it is a sling of muscles. It's not something, it doesn't have to be scary or mysterious. Kind of like people talk about the rotator cuff with the shoulder. All that is a set of 4 muscles with a special name. Same with the pelvic floor. It's a set of muscles that holds everything in from below, connects to the front of the pelvis, the back, the tailbone, and along the sides to some of those deep hip muscles. And so its function is very important. It's responsible for peeing, pooping, and penetration, right? So those are really important functions. And so when the tissue starts to weaken, maybe you did have a little bit of an overstretching or an injury or a tear, or certainly some more high risk things happen during childbirth, which we can go into all those things. This is what happened to Jen and I. Maybe you had some of those things happen, but it was just a little annoyance for many years. Maybe it was just like, oh, well, I can't go on the trampoline with my kids anymore, but whatever, I can live without the trampoline. That's fine. But maybe your back was just always a little tight. That's okay. I can stretch it a little more. That's fine. Maybe every now and then you had to get up to pee in the night. Whatever, that's all right. I got up a lot more when my kids were little. I can live with that. But then as estrogen declines, collagen declines, all that soft tissue starts to change and weaken a little bit because of those changes in the hormones. All of a sudden, here's the stories we get. Women in our inboxes, okay, help me. Now I'm running out of business meetings. I can't work anymore. Now I'm having to keep underwear in my drawer at work. Now I'm walking on the beach with my child, my grown child, and I cough or sneeze or laugh and the pee runs down my leg and I couldn't have a pad in because I'm in a swimsuit. That's not okay anymore. Now maybe it's affecting my intimate life with my spouse, and now maybe things hurt, and that is no longer okay. It's no longer a whisper because often the hormone changes turn it into a scream. And now is a perfect time to do something about it, because not shock of shocks, it's not, at this point, it's definitely not going to get better on its own. But there is hope for healing. And that is what I want you to take home with you. If you hear nothing else, take action sooner than later. There are so many things you can start doing to be kinder to that part of your body, and take action sooner than later, because, the statistics are alarming. 1 in every 2 women who have given birth will develop clinically significant prolapse, which is like pelvic organ or pelvic floor dysfunction on steroids. It's when the organs actually start to shift and fall from their natural place in the pelvis. So 1 in 2 women who've given birth, 1 in 3 who've never given birth, will develop clinically significant organ falling, prolapse, in their lifetime. So these,
oh my gosh,
you are not alone.
This topic is just making me cringe. Now, Christina, I had 3 C-sections. Is this related in any way to sections?
Another fantastic question. This is a myth we love to dispel, that, just because the baby came out surgically, your pelvic floor still carried a full-term pregnancy, right? So it's kind of like your body still did all that good relaxing stuff where the joints kind of get loosey-goosey and they spread and they relax, and your body's still holding that bowling ball on the pelvic floor for that full-term pregnancy. So no matter how the baby came out, a lot of times it's harder to recover because then you've had a major abdominal surgery. And by the way, the pelvic floor is meant to work in synchrony with the deep abdominal muscles. So then when we've surgically interrupted those deep abdominals, it makes it almost harder for everything to get back online again in a different way than if the baby, there's no easy way to get the baby out, right? Okay.
Right.
And either way comes with unique healing challenges. And you can absolutely still end up with pelvic floor dysfunction. Like I said, many women who've never had children at all end up with these issues at this pivotal time of life simply because of the hormone changes or all the other things throughout our lifespan that affect this part of our body, right? Like our body tells our life's story. So there are so many things. I hope anyone listening here, I hope you have validation in this right now. If you were a victim of trauma, with sexual trauma or birth trauma, you are at greater risk for all of this. If you have had a lifetime of constipation or bowel dysfunction, digestive problems, you are at greater risk for developing these issues. If you have had asthma and you were coughing, every time you're coughing, it's downward pressure, and your pelvic floor is working so hard to support you always. It's always coming to the mat and doing its best. But a lifetime of stress and pressure on this muscle does add up. So all of those things, even a history of playing certain sports, or a connective tissue disorder. This is becoming more well known. If you're one of those girls who could always hyperextend her elbows and your knees lock out, you've always been really good at yoga, you're hypermobile, you've got naturally loose connective tissue, that's a win in a lot of arenas in life, but it can put you at risk for developing these pelvic floor and prolapse issues later. So yes, it's about childbirth, and that is the most statistically highest risk factor, but it's not just about that. So many things can come into play when we're talking about the whole health of your center here.
Wow. Everything, well, maybe not everything, but a majority of the things you just mentioned, I had no idea about. And I'm trying to think when I first heard pelvic floor. It was probably 8 or 9 years ago, and I was presenting a vision board workshop at a women's, like a grown-up camp situation. And there was a specialist in pelvic floor stuff that was speaking, and I thought to myself, why don't I know this? Because I was in my 50s then, and I didn't know it. And then I've had many people on the podcast talking about menopause and perimenopause and all of the mysterious symptoms where people just, and physicians and healthcare in general, they just haven't been. It's getting better now, but connecting the dots like you're doing now. Mentioning collagen, it never occurred to me that I don't know why I didn't put that together, but I did not put that together. That
because
collagen
so many,
was related.
Well, it's like what you said. So many people, it's like the pelvic floor, and everybody just kind of starts to hear elevator music, like tune that out. That sounds scary. Like, oh, I don't even know what that means. I don't even want to dive into that. Like, so you're not alone. And this is the story of so many women, and they end up in our inbox or commenting under our YouTube teachings, like, why did no one tell me all of this sooner? And it's just, there are many more people talking about it now, which is wonderful. There are many more options for care and treatment, which is wonderful. But first, we have to realize, like, what is happening in my body, and find the courage to identify with it. Like, sometimes when women come and seek us out, it almost seems like things get worse at first when they start to focus on what's going wrong, because as women, like, we're the caretakers of so many, right? And sometimes we have to get to a stage where we kind of block out some of the things that are happening that we know need to be addressed because we have other things that take a higher priority. But at some point you can no longer ignore it. And that's when women find us, and they often say, why didn't someone tell me about this sooner? But I always encourage women to, this is a time in midlife when in so many ways we are being forced, if we don't choose it before, to listen better to our bodies, to our hearts, to our intuition. And in that way, we can see it as a part of that journey. Because when you re-engage and reconnect in a positive and a healing way with your very center of your physical center of who you are as a woman, the positive effects can be absolutely phenomenal. We do workshops much like you about finding our why in our community of members in our program because, to create habit change, to look those issues in the eye and say, I do feel broken is incredibly emotional. And to stay motivated to keep going on that journey of healing, we have to remind ourselves, why did we embark on this journey? We embarked on this journey not really because we were peeing our pants. We embarked on this journey because we want to be able to travel with our children and not be limited by all these issues. We embarked on this journey because we want to have an intimate life with our spouse as long as we can and keep that connection strong. We want to be able to pursue our calling and our passion and not be hogtied by worrying about where the bathroom is. And that's why we're on this healing journey. And so I love the way you speak about that, and we speak about that too, because yes, it's about the leaks and the pressure, but it's really about so much more than that. It's about removing that weight that we carry around when we're feeling broken at our center and going, hey, I don't need to carry this anymore. I can find freedom, and that's what we want.
Yeah, freedom. I was just thinking the word freedom is what's coming to mind for me when you're talking about this, because you don't realize how many accommodations you make and how many times you just say, no, I won't do that. And you don't really appreciate all the little mini decisions just went into coming to that conclusion that it's just too much aggravation or stress or potential embarrassment or whatever. Like I always feel I've been working at home now for, I think, 11 years in this space. And I'm always so grateful that a bathroom is just around the corner. Because what I'm noticing, and I wonder, well, no, you tell me, this urgency with peeing, is that something that's pelvic floor, or is that, I don't know, sometimes I feel like I'm just triggered by walking through my front door.
Yes.
What's going on?
You're on to something very, very deep here and very true in that when we add urgency or frequency, and so there's different kinds of leaks, right? There's the laugh, cough, sneeze, jump kind of leak, but then there's the gotta go now and can't quite make it in time. That's a different kind of leak. And it is a multifaceted situation there because your nervous system has gotten involved. Anytime there's peeing more than 10 times a day or that urgency, yes, it's pelvic floor strength. So yes, we need to relax and release the muscles, and we need to take gentler care of them, and we need to add strength, but we also need to take care of our nervous system here. And that means, because it's connected to the bladder. I mean, that the vagus nerve, that fight or flight nerve that more people are talking about now, is connected to the bladder. So when it comes to urgency and frequency, yes, we need the strength, but we also need to decompress and gently release and relax those muscles to kind of de-aggravate the hyperactivated nervous system connection that has developed with those muscles. And we love teaching these things. We have a wonderful at-home technique. If you're dealing with any of this, you can start right now today from home. It requires no special equipment. It's an at-home decompression position. And if you're a type A-er and you're like, I can't lie still for 10 minutes, think of it as rest multitasking, because you are doing so much good for your body. You're decompressing your back, your hips, your pelvis, your pelvic floor, your nervous system. And you can put on, Women in the Middle and catch up on your favorite podcast all at the same time.
You're hilarious. Midlife women do have trouble sitting still. I have heard many, many times that it's difficult to even give yourself permission to read a book because you can't multitask, So I love that concept of rest multitasking.
And it is productive. I love the way you always remind us of this too. And I need to hear it as much as anybody, that the downshifting is a necessary and productive part of the healing. And that applies for pelvic floor healing as well.
Self-care is productive. Absolutely. Yes. Even though it's difficult, it can be really difficult to come to the conclusion that it's time to prioritize this. Yes. It's funny with the urgency. I make it sometimes and I don't make it sometimes. Like for me, it's usually when I come back into the house, and then I try to talk myself out of it. And I do notice that I can do it a little bit. Like I can say, everything's going to be okay. Just relax, as I'm, hustling my ass across the room to get to the bathroom. But I'm like, it's going to be okay. I can do this. I can do this. And I do notice it comes down a little bit, but not completely. So it's so interesting that you just said that there is a direct nervous system link there. That is fascinating.
Yeah. So you're on the right track. You could even try that at-home decompression position that we'll surely link to. We also teach breath work while in that position. So you are on the right track already. It might just help to take a few intentional deep breaths that are another way to tell that nervous system, hey, I'm safe, it's okay. But then adding strength is also important here. So it's a twofold thing when we get to that urgency and frequency. The leaks of the laugh, cough, sneeze, jump are more purely strength and stretching that's needed, and offloading the pressure on the pelvic floor in other ways, which we'll talk more about here. But when we get to that frequency and urgency, the nervous system's definitely gotten involved. And also similar with getting up at night to pee, that's another one women are like, wait, you're literally telling me right now that's not something I have to live with? That is mind blowing because nobody's telling women this. Another thing women deal with that the women who work with us are looking for holistic care. They're looking for a really comprehensive approach to heal at the root. And recurrent UTIs are another pelvic floor issue. You know, this is another thing we've helped so many women get past because they don't want to be on antibiotics the rest of their life. You know, and certainly antibiotics, you become desensitized to them over time. So then you need stronger ones and it's wrecking your gut every single time. So with the right pelvic floor care and support, very often you can get rid of those recurrent UTIs as well. Because it's all up in that same area and resetting that balance of strength and depressurizing and relaxation can cure so many ills, all because it's all happening right there.
Who would have thunk it? My goodness. So in your notes, you mentioned something in terms of practical advice, something about bathroom positioning. Tell us more about that.
Oh, yes. Okay. So make sure if you're not using one yet, this is a shameless plug for a squatty potty. If you don't
have a squatty potty.
You're doing the right thing already. Good job.
I have several of them in the house.
And they make them cuter now. When we first started talking about this, it was just that big white plastic thing. And women were like,
that's the one I have.
Well, I have it too. I'm not aesthetically motivated. I'm much more functionally motivated. Like I want to feel and function well. So I don't really care about the white plastic device. But we learned when we started talking about this that many women do very much care. And they were like, I'm not putting that ugly medical thing in my bathroom. But they have teak wood ones. They have bamboo ones.
Oh,
they have really cute ones now, ladies. So no excuses. Get the squatty potty because that's a more ergonomic position to more completely empty both bowel and bladder. Is knees higher than hips. You want to really relax. You don't want to be pushing your pee out. I know it's tempting. The dog's barking, the phone's ringing, whatever it is, do not push your pee out. That actually causes urine to remain retained in the bladder, and which means you have to pee again sooner or you have to get up at night again. So you're going to want to put your knees up, your feet up on that squatty potty, knees higher than hips. You're going to want to exhale. If you're somebody who's got a really, really tight muscle down there from chronic stress or injury or asthma or constipation, the muscle's just really guarding. For someone, it's hard to even initiate the flow of urine, much less completely empty. You want to really breathe into it. You might even find that rocking back and forth or forward and back or in circles can really help shift the position and relax everything just enough to more fully and completely empty everything down there, which is a huge gift. So you're going to want to take those things first. And think how many times you're peeing and pooping every day. If you can be a little gentler and a little kinder to your pelvic floor every time you're doing that, that really adds up in the positive direction.
Yeah.
And similarly, maintain your fiber, your electrolytes in your water, that hydration and fiber. If you're having easier passage of bowel movements with less straining, we don't want it to go too far in either direction. We want it soft and curvy. You don't want rabbit poops and you don't want diarrhea because every time you're having a smooth, easy bowel movement, you're taking care of your pelvic floor and you're taking pressure and strain off of it. You're just being kind to it. We want to treat that body part. If it's struggling, let's lean in with compassion and kindness. And these are ways that you can do that. The at-home decompression position, the water with electrolytes, fiber to keep your stools soft, using that squatty potty, breathing and exhaling to let it all out instead of straining and pushing. These are all just gentle kindnesses you can give your pelvic floor every day.
And it is so satisfying to have a nice poop.
Oh,
it's satisfying.
Women tell us all the time. This is the funny story. Women always tell us, I got that stool you told me. And at first my husband was like, what's this thing in the bathroom? And now I notice he always goes to that bathroom.
It's easy. It's just easy. And it's like, oh, look at me being a good human, doing the things my human body wants to do with ease.
And you just feel better. It takes away the bloating. I mean, nobody being backed up is the worst. Nobody wants that feeling.
So
And
true.
yeah, so many wins with these little tweaks and adjustments you can make.
And it sounds like you'll be giving me some links that go straight to some demonstration videos, YouTube, something
Yes,
like that. Yeah, great. I love that.
absolutely. Yeah. And we've got teachings on we always say we have teachings on everything you might be afraid to Google. Because these issues can be so complex and nuanced. And what this looks like and feels like for every woman is different. Because what your body has been through throughout that whole life story has led to where your body is now. And so some women are going to identify more with like, oh, my back is always tight. Some women are getting up 3 times at night to pee, but they're not having leaks. Some women are having pain with sex and only urgency leaks. So some women are having heaviness and pressure, but they're really not leaking that much. And some women have that feeling like a tampon stuck in there, but there's no tampon in there. That's the bulge and the pressure. So the nuances can be tricky, but dignify yourself with acknowledging that if you're checking 2 or more of those boxes, this is your body asking for help. Yeah. You don't.
I did. I think I took your quiz. It must have been the quiz. And I just was taken aback by the nuance of the questions. I mean, I have never thought about what was going on down there with that amount of detail. And if this, do you also have that? It was just so useful just to raise awareness of what was
Yes.
going on. And I have to say, I noticed that same thing when I went for a sleep study. So the questionnaire raised my awareness to possible symptoms and some things I'd been ignoring. And now I wear CPAP and my sleep is so much better. But
And
it's
that affects every aspect of life. I mean,
oh
thank
my
goodness.
gosh, so much. But I guess I'm really sensing that same thing, that there's so many ways to ignore and accommodate things that aren't great, where we could be more comfortable, we could be healthier, we could have less stress. And I would suggest that even just starting there would be really a helpful way to just raise your awareness.
The quiz is perfect for that. And I can tell you what that quiz is it's when Jen and I are total nerds for what we do. As I said, we are not aesthetically motivated. We always forget to talk about the fact that, women come back so excited after working with us that like their waistline is narrower and their booty is perkier again. And we're like, yeah, but can you function normally? Like that's what we really want for everyone. But all those things happen too, right? When you're retoning your center. But the quiz is a perfect place to start. And what it is we did university research for 3 years on this new protocol we discovered to help ourselves because we were like, okay, testimonials are great. We want data. We want to know when we didn't have a dream of having an online business ever. This was not even like an inkling in the back of our heads. We thought we'd have our research, we'd get it out into the world, and that's what would help women. We were like, this is going to be it. And 3 years of university research, we had no idea what we were getting ourselves into right there. But the quiz is made up of the questionnaires that we used, which were also research validated, blah, blah, blah. The questionnaires that we used to track women's progress in our research study. And we just combined them into one quiz online. And it's perfect because you get a score that is based on our data. We needed to have that confidence that we could look women in the eyes and say, I know for a fact that with this score, you can expect improvement in this amount of days. And it's going to look like this, or, here's the resources that are right for you where you are right now. So it opens your eyes to how connected all this stuff is in your body instantly in 5 minutes. And then also gives you an instant score and a resource to know a data-backed answer of here's what we recommend you try next. And if your score is to the point where a conservative plan of care is not going to be enough, we have a whole set of resources for you on that too, because it is possible for these things to have gone too far to where working conservatively or non-invasively is not going to be enough anymore. And we're honest and we level with you about that as well. So if you want to know how bad is this, if you want to know, wait, what's all involved in this? I think this might be me. I'm not sure. The quiz is a perfect place to start.
So how can we find the quiz?
Oh, it's everywhere. It's on our Instagram and our YouTube and our website. And because we found it's the best way to really help women see, okay, wait, this is me. And where do I turn?
And your handle is so cute. On Instagram, it's tighten.your.tinkler.
Yes, ma'am. We're Tighten Your Tinkler everywhere. And one of our clients named it. We are not that clever. We would have named it something much more medical sounding. because I'm a physical therapist. She's an exercise physiologist. And again, like I said, we are nerds for this work. And so we would have called it something much less fun and cute. But one of our clients was like, hold on, you can't call it, pelvic health program or whatever. She was like,
agreed.
How about tighten your tinkler? And we said, oh, that's the win, because it needs to be clear what we're doing. We're in an online space full of so much stimulation, but we don't have any need to be ugly or crass about any of it. So that kind of checked all the boxes.
This one, it's so cute. It reminds me of a teacup. I feel like my pinky should be out as I'm sipping some beautiful tea. So tighten your tinkler. And what's your website?
It's tightenyourtinkler.com.
Amazing. So you can easily find that there. And we're not finished yet, but I know if you just heard quiz, you might want to, you're probably very excited about taking the quiz. And I think you're going to get so much from it, and you'll know what the next step is. So tell me a little bit about, like you just mentioned, if things have gone too far, what does an intervention look like when you can't just work on, your health and your muscles and your strength and that kind of thing?
Yes. So usually the very next step is what they call a pessary. So we talked about how with prolapse, which is, again, it's like pelvic floor dysfunction and then some. It's where the organs, and by organs I mean bladder, uterus, and rectum, they all sit ideally in nice little soft tissue supported compartments in your pelvis. But when prolapse starts to happen, they start to kind of shift and fall. And so that's what causes so many symptoms for so many women. And the next step, if you've tried or you're just not interested in conservative care, the next step is called a pessary for that. And it's almost like, imagine a little device. It's kind of like scaffolding to hold everything back up and in again. So you insert it into the vaginal canal, and there's lots of different shapes and sizes, and it's positioned there and it's left there. I mean, not forever. You take it in and out to clean it and things like that. But a pessary is kind of a next level of support. We often tell women stage 1 and 2 prolapse are things that Jen and I both live with, that we served hundreds of women living with. And we know for a fact conservative care is enough. If you stay committed and you really are driven to take care of things outside of a hospital and a surgeon's office, stage 1 and 2 prolapse, it's good enough. And you don't have to know your stage. That's what the quiz is for. If you're like, I don't even want a diagnosis, many women are like, la, 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 prolapse. I can't even think about that word. Holy crap. Just take the quiz. That's what it's there for. You don't have to have a diagnosis, but if you do, it's really tricky. Women get caught up in all the terms. It's like, if you have the term, I can speak to you in all the terms. If you don't want the term and don't want to talk about it, just take the quiz. It's all broken down in just how it feels in your body. But if it's stage 3, the organs have fallen a little bit more. That's where often you can still get by with exercise and strengthening, plus that pessary as needed, that internal scaffolding device. And I've heard good things about the cube. It's the one that seems to get the best reviews from women. And then stage 4 is the most progressed level of prolapse. And that is where your organs have completely exited your body from down below. And not surprisingly, at that point, you need to be in a surgeon's office. And thank God that option is there for you.
Oh my God, my eyeballs just bugged out. Okay.
Yeah. And we even have a master class. If you're like, I'm just trying to wrap my head around this, we recently created a master class on just prolapse, because it can be so overwhelming. And some women are like, I just need to get my hands around this concept before I even think about what I want to do to address it. So we have a prolapse masterclass just to dip your toe in the water of that learning more, or you can do it with us on YouTube. Our most popular teaching on YouTube is our in-depth bladder prolapse teaching. And it is, I think we have like 300 something thousand views. And it's phenomenal, the personal stories that women share under that teaching, because very often they have gone to doctor's offices and they've been dismissed, they've been shamed, they've been told to accept it, they've been told this is just what happens. And for the first time ever, in this teaching, they feel heard. They feel like someone described what they're feeling in a way that is what they are feeling. And they feel hopeful for the first time in years. And it's really incredible, the stories women share on that very public platform of, I'm crying right now. I thought I was alone. I tried to get help for this. I was redirected. I was dismissed. So trust your body. You know you best. And no one else can tell you what's okay and what's not okay for you. So if you're ready to seek help, whether it's with us or someone else, is not my concern. I just hope you feel validated, seen, heard, and hopeful again, that you have a next step, that you have a place to turn, that when you decide you've had enough, whatever that looks like for you, because that's also different for every woman.
There is. Yeah.
That you feel like you can get your hands around this and begin that journey toward healing.
Now, another thing that I think this message did get through to most women somewhere along the line is Kegels. So tell us a little bit about that.
We're not fans. Number one, because they didn't work for us. Jen, my business partner, she actually has diagnosed stage 2 prolapse of all 3 pelvic organs. She had a very traumatic first birth, forceps, vacuum, really awful. That's what led her down this path. But she was told by a urogynecologist, she'd done all the Kegels. And she went in to see somebody at 36 years old. And the urogynecologist said, squeeze my finger. And she did. And he said, well, your pelvic floor is strong. It's not a matter of if you're going to have surgery. It's just when. And I hate doing it on women this young because you're going to need it redone in 10 years. And she said, at that point, it was, okay, well, I've done all the Kegels. I have nothing to lose and everything to gain to try everything else I can possibly find. And she and I became united on finding an alternate path because Kegels did not work. He's telling her your muscles are strong, but they're not functionally doing their job. She was leaking. She was getting up. She was peeing more than 20 times a day. And for me, right. And so many women are. I dare you to count. If you're like, wait, is that me? So many women are. And then your life really is ruled by the bathroom at that point. But so that is what set us on the path to trying to find a better option. And we've since learned so much that Kegels are recommended because it's the best thing anybody knew, right? Nobody's getting into these healing professions for anything other than the reason that they want to help people. So people have recommended this. And the same thing with those devices that we call them auto Kegelers that you have to insert and they stimulate I'm not saying there's not a place for it. Some women are helped by that. However, the women we work with have tried that and it has often it helps for a little while and then it makes things worse because what's happening is you're just squeezing in an isolated position and it doesn't lead to strength that is functional. It doesn't lead to the kind of strength where if you're in a deep squat picking up the laundry hamper and you sneeze, you're not going to be protected because you just laid on your back and squeeze and relax and squeeze and relax and squeeze it. And that does not build strength in all the ranges of motion, the squats, the bending, the lunging. We need that muscle to work for us. Like, you can't cross your legs if you're going to sneeze and you're driving. You'll cause a terrible car accident. So, we don't need to be relying on those things forever. And the Kegling actually ends up causing like an over tightening. And that just spirals into feeds that feedback loop of the extra tight, overstimulated muscle that struggles to relax. So that is why we recommend starting with that decompression position with gentle stretching, and all of that is roped in and included in the approach we take to helping women solve these issues because you have to relax and rebalance the flexibility of the muscle. And we do that all externally. We don't use any devices. And so I think women who feel called to work with us are looking for a non-invasive approach. And we're so proud and honored to be able to offer that. Again, you do you, boo, right? Like, if you're like, I need to see an in-person pelvic floor therapist, then by all means do that. But if you're somebody who's like, I've already tried that, or I'm not interested in that level of invasive care, maybe working with us is a great option. And no matter what path you plan to take to heal, take that quiz first. I agree. It's the best place
I think
to start.
The quiz is great. And then also the decompression position link to where it is on your website will also be in the show notes. Christina, this has been so shocking and encouraging. And I don't know, it's been everything. And I think menopause now is getting a lot of spotlight. Mm-hmm. More professionals are upgrading their skills. People are more comfortable talking about it. And I don't know, maybe the pelvic floor stuff is coming up, but I personally hadn't heard that much about it. So I am so thankful that we connected somewhere online and that you're sitting here right now. And if you could if there's anything else you wanted to share, a top tip, a way to ask a physician a question, I don't know. What else could you offer us that's just quick? And then I'll let you go. I will finally let you go.
Well, I think listening to your body is the key here because, and as I said, as a midlife gal myself, I am finding that I'm being given lots of signals that I need to do that more in this stage. Mm-hmm. And so this can just be one of those things where your body is waving that white flag saying, hey, I've really had enough here. Like, can we turn the tides on this and reverse things and get things back in order at our center. And it can be a phenomenally therapeutic experience if and when you decide to engage with that and walk that healing journey, because you will find you're standing up straighter and you're walking with more confidence. And I always get emotional about these things. You suddenly start to feel like I'm not broken anymore and my body can heal. And sometimes we just have to trust that and just nudge it in the right direction. It often doesn't take much. And so trust that intuition. You were gifted it for a reason as a woman.
Yes, I couldn't have said that better. And reconnecting with your body, it's kind of like reintroducing yourself to your body at a different age and stage.
Yes.
Things have changed, hormones have changed, life experience, you've been through a lot. Things have changed. And one of the things I personally have really grown with over the last 10, 15 years has been connecting to my actual body.
Yes.
I was so disconnected. The way I first realized it was with food and just trying to figure out when I wasn't hungry, when I was hungry. That very basic thing needed work.
Well, it's not a wonder after we've raised our children and we've poured so much into them and we've chosen that path, and it is beautiful for what it is. But then it is also beautiful to tune back into your own self when the pressure of those early parenting years comes off, and you can have a little more space of time and energy to relearn who you are now. And it can be such a gift, and we owe it to ourselves to lean into the gift that it can be and make it one.
Yeah, and that really is just slowing down. When you feel something, pause, pay attention. Don't just ignore, don't just put it under the rug, but just really pay attention and allow yourself the freedom to, I don't know, to embrace dissatisfaction with some of the things that are going on. You are worth it to check things out. You are worth it to, want more sleep.
Yes.
You are, right? And personally, I would love to walk in the door and not worry about peeing my pants. I mean, I have to go down some stairs. I have to go up some stairs to get to the bathroom.
Yeah.
It's like
and when it starts
rigmarole.
Interrupting all that travel you had dreamed about and all the things you've put on your list that you want to achieve because you're owning your midlife transformation, don't let this be the thing that derails you. It's not worth it.
So true. That's so true. When you start planning to wear Depends because you want to do something you're going to be taken away from a bathroom, or you're going to be gone for 5 hours or whatever it is. There's just so many things that we're just doing to get by, and we forget that we can aim higher.
Yes.
We can have more, we can aim higher.
Absolutely.
Christina, it's been
I know. I was just saying, think of it like I've heard you say these things too. Think of it. What would you tell your friend? What would you tell your best friend? It's like, why is it so hard to turn that same compassion towards ourselves? It is. I struggle with it in all of my own ways as well. And just keep reminding yourself, what would you tell your best friend who came to you with these issues? Would you tell her to ignore them, or would you tell her she's worthy of fixing them and so are you?
That's it exactly. That is it exactly. So once again, tell us where we can get a hold of you. TightenYourTinkler.com.
You got it. We're in all the places, Instagram, YouTube. Those are our most popular platforms, and certainly the website. We're in our inbox. We have a very small team, but there are no robots talking to you about your pelvic floor. It is all us and our little team taking care of you, and we are not afraid of any questions. Bring them all. Bring the hard questions, and we will always do our best to direct you to the right next steps to meet you where you are in this space for you. And lastly, if you do feel called that working with us in our signature program is the right choice for your healing journey, we have just a special opportunity for your listeners, Susie, for $50 off of our signature program, which does come with lifetime access, the external exercise tool you will need, all the constant improvements and coaching in our private community. So you can be 100% sure you are not alone. So that coupon code is Midlife. And that will get you that $50 off if you feel that we are the right step for you.
Oh my gosh, Christina, thank you so much. That's so generous. And if you as a listener right now want any of these links that we talked about, including Instagram, YouTube, website, quiz, the link and way to find those exercises, it's all going to be in the show notes. Thank you so much, Christina. This was, first of all, it was amazing to meet you. It was so much fun to talk about this topic in a casual way. With no shame, no embarrassment.
Yes.
We're just letting it all out. We got to talk about this stuff because if we can't talk about it, there are women out there who are suffering. So we
Yes.
must talk about it. We must laugh about it. We must embrace it and
Absolutely.
take it seriously, right?
Absolutely.
So good. So thank you so much for joining us today. This was an awesome episode.
Thank you so much, Susie, for all the brilliant ways you support women through this pivotal time of life.
So good to be together. Thanks again. Okay, that's it for this episode. I don't know about you, but I felt such a sense of relief as Christina and I got into the interview. I'm thinking, wow, I'm so glad we're talking about this stuff because it can be so embarrassing and so uncomfortable. I think you also got the message loud and clear that now is the perfect time to put yourself first, and also why it's important to take action now to create the life you want to live for the rest of your years. All right, that's it. Thanks so much for listening to the Women in the Middle show. My focus as your regret-proofing midlife coach is to help you waste less valuable time and get on with the good stuff. Remember, being the queen of your brain domain is the best way to be. My friend, it's time to stop waiting for the right moment and start creating the happiness, excitement, joy, and fulfillment that you crave. Reach out if you'd like to talk about coaching together. Just go to www.talktosusie.com. And don't forget, I have a new quiz that I talked about on recent episodes. So head on over to www.midlifequiz.com and you will discover what's been keeping you stuck and also learn about what your future self is craving. Again, it's www.midlifequiz.com. For show notes and links, go to my website, susierosenstein.com, and click on the podcast tab and look for episode 433. You'll also see a link there for my other show, The Women in the Middle Entrepreneurs, which is all about the reality of running your business when you're a midlife gal. It's also on iTunes, Spotify, and all the places. Let's do this, ladies. It's time for you to put yourself first, one thought at a time. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll talk to you next week.